So my name is Jeff Gray, and I'm the discipleship pastor at Living Truth Church. And I want to welcome to another session of our series that's entitled As You Go. And today's session is going to be about the idea of community. And before we jump into community, I just want to do a quick refresher with you that we've already been through other sessions. The first session we went through was a session on the home and recognizing the importance of demonstrating love in the home, right? We look at Matthew 22 and it tells us we love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, and mind. We love our neighbors ourselves. And to make that even a simpler statement, we would say, love God, love people, and it should always start at home. Then the second week we met and we talked about the church and how important it is as us, as the body of Christ, that we love each other and we do it well. And we talked about how the importance of we love people more than we love the stuff, right? In our third session, we looked at the story of the Samaritan woman and how she reached her whole village with the gospel. And it wasn't that everyone received it, but everyone heard it. And many believed, not all. And we tied that to the Bless Every Home app. And we've asked you as a church to download the app and make that a part of your daily routine as you begin praying and loving and caring for and praying and sharing with your people, with the people in your neighborhood. But in today's session, we're going to make the scope a little bigger for us as a church. So we're going to be looking at the idea of community. So in today's session, we're going to be looking at Mark chapter 5, and it's the story of the demoniac's encounter with Jesus. In this story, it's a little bit different than what we saw last week in the story of the Samaritan woman. Some different things happen, and I want to maybe walk through those a little bit with you, and maybe we'll see something new in our session tonight. So my thought would be, as we look at this passage in Mark chapter 5, there's some things that I want you to see, that the differences I want you to see between the two stories. And the first thing that I see is that's similar is that when Jesus shows up, things happen. Things happen with the Samaritan woman. Her life was changed. And of course, we recognize in this story that the demoniac's life was radically changed as well. But we also see in the story some things happen differently with what happened after their healing, and that was, for example, with the Samaritan woman. When she had finished her encounter, her conversation with Jesus, she literally got up and went back to her village, back to her neighborhood, so to speak, and told everyone what Jesus had done for her. But in the story of the demoniac, he wanted to go with Jesus. And Jesus told him no, and he sent him to Decapolis, which means 10 cities. He sent him back to this larger area of a place to tell everyone what Jesus had done for him. So there's some differences there, right? But we also see there are other differences in the stories. You look through that, you'll recognize that in the story of the Samaritan, the woman in the story, when she brought the people back, they asked Jesus to stay. They welcomed him to their village. And then in the story of the demoniac, when the people came to meet Jesus, they begged him to leave. And so we recognize that even in Jesus speaking to people and presenting the gospel and the truth to people, that people rejected him for who he was. And in the Samaritan story, we see that people received him well. It doesn't say all of them, but many of them received him and received his message and were saved. So as I think through that, I think through us as a church, and I recognize that when we talk about community as a church, we have to understand that when we say community, it's really, it means your oikos of people. It's the people in your life. So it's going to be the people that you work with. It's going to be the people in your school or in your class. It's going to be the people that you go to the gym with, or people that you do your hobbies with, or people that you play sports with. But those people represent your community. And so as we think through that, I want you to take some time to talk about, as a group, a few questions that I want you to answer before we move on to the next portion of this session. So I'd like to introduce you to a new initiative that we're beginning at Living Truth. It's called Here to Help. And really, at the end of the day, it just helps us as a church to honor Acts 2, the work in Acts 2 that we see. And we recognize in Acts 2 of the first church, we recognize that they were very close together as a group. They loved each other well. They spent time together, but they also loved people outside of the group. They demonstrated love to their community. And so for us, we want to do the same thing. And so this initiative that we are calling Here to Help is going to give us the opportunity as a church to work in small teams in the locations of our CPR groups and meet the needs of people while at the same time loving them like Jesus. So I want to formally introduce you to what we're calling the Here to Help initiative, or the Here to Help campaign for 2023. And you'll be looking at a slideshow in just a minute that will explain the Here to Help campaign to you as a group. And we're hoping that your group will get actively involved in loving Jesus and loving people in your community.